What is happening, Post Shifters? Welcome back to another episode of the Post Shift Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Shawn Soole. I've mentioned this a couple of times in podcasts, and if you're listening or watching on YouTube or however you ingest my my podcast, have been a very, very lucky man already this year with some fantastic guests lined up. And like I literally I can look at my whiteboard right here, and it has my top 10 people that I want to have on the podcast in 2025. And this gentleman is one of them, Simone Caporale from SIPS Barcelona. He's got a whole bunch of other stuff, but I'm just going to focus on SIPS Barcelona. So I start listing stuff. We'll run out of time that he doesn't really have to spend with me. So I want to introduce Simone Caporale from SIPS Barcelona. How are you, Simone?
Hello, I'm very good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Good, my friend. Good, my friend. You're a very, very busy man, I know.
Well, we enjoy what we do and we get involved, you know.
We definitely do. So give everybody your sort of like napkin pitch on how did you get in the industry and what have you done in your career?
You want to know the truth?
Yeah, I think
When
I can handle the truth.
When I was 14 years old with my friends, we broke into a property and we stole a motorbike. And some of my friends, they got caught the summer after because they were selling weed, things like that. And I was into the loop. I was into the telephone conversation, the messages and things like that. So the police raided them, not me, but into the things. It was also filed this robbery and so on. So basically, my parents, they sent me to work in the summer in order for me to pay the lawyer, to pay the damage and so on. And I never looked back.
That's the best origin story I've ever heard. Because it's usually romantic. Like, I'm a third generation Italian bartender. I used to sit in my grandfather's bar and have drinks. That is a great origin story.
But if I wouldn't put myself in trouble at that age, most likely I would be doing something else today. So
that's incredible. That's
incredible. I've always been grateful, even for certain mistakes that I've done.
That's fantastic.
That would lead me to somewhere else here.
How has that shaped your like early years? How has that shaped your approach to hospitality as you've gone through? Like, you've been at the Artesian, you've been at some of the most influential bars, and still at some of the most influential bars in the world. How's that shaped the way you do hospitality?
Well, it definitely shaped me. But first of all, I've always been curious, and I always been able to surround myself with curious people, or to foment each other to wanting to know more about certain things. And that's, I truly believe, is one of the reasons why it help us to grow and being involved more with also with the passion as well. No, you discover, you develop it, and without that you cannot go that far, I reckon. But obviously, with the experience throughout the year, that it will sum up and it will help you to go on. So how did this thing shape? Everything shapes you in the good or in the bad. So that's why it's always very important to question yourself very often if you are still in the right place, if you're still learning, or perhaps it's best for you to explore something new. So this kind of a self-criticism that constantly question yourself: am I doing the right thing, or shall I move on? And that's the thing.
Do you try and instill that into your team? Like, when it comes to that sort of self-criticism, that healthy self-criticism, do you instill that into your team to sort of build a well-rounded staff team?
Well, I do, but everyone maybe has a different reason to be involved professionally in a certain job, and the level of interest or passion is slightly different. The level of experience, it's different because of the year, but it can always grow and improve. So I learned, to be honest with you, that sometimes if you expect too much from people that we cannot deliver, then you get maybe a little bit disappointed. So for me, I like to be involved and I like to be around. So in between this call, I'm actually in the service tonight, not because they need an extra person in the shift, but I want to be there and be part of it. And when they see you carrying trays, they say, well, if he does it, I need to do it as well, you know?
Yeah, leading by example is something that I feel when you get to a certain point in your career is very tough at times to get your team on the same sort of pathway. You've always been big on breaking the traditional mold. Well, outside looking in, you've always been big on breaking the traditional mold of bartending. What do you think the next big shift in the industry for you is when it comes to your approach to cocktails and service?
There's no specific starting point, but let's say I speak on behalf of SIPS, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to drink, we look for taste, respect of the raw materials, or really to praise and take the most out of it, the ingredient. And when it comes to the hospitality part or the service part, which obviously hospitality and service are two different things, but they combine together very well. People need to enjoy it. Not necessarily they will understand everything, but as long as they enjoyed it, it's like a song. There are many songs of, let's say, in English or in other language that are very popular in other countries where people not necessarily understand what these songs say, but they enjoy it, they dance on it. And a drink should be, or an experience should be exactly like that. Not everyone is interested if you clarify things or if you ferment, but everyone can still enjoy it if you're capable to deliver it and make them understand the purpose of it, the enjoyment of it.
So SIPS was your first place that you opened and owned, correct?
Beg your pardon?
SIPS is the first place you've opened and owned? Open as your own, yeah.
Yes, and when I say by my own, it's not just me, but it's also Mark Alvarez, who's my business partner.
So when you did that, you've obviously got the international recognition, and we can have a whole conversation about awards and international recognition. What was the biggest challenge when it was coming to open up SIPS to create a concept that ambitious?
Well, the biggest challenge was to let the rest of the team understand what SIPS is. In order for them to understand the identity, and then for them, every effort they were doing, it was be able to be applied and absorbed by SIPS. So I know it can sound very poetic, but one of the other challenges is the fact that you are pushing 40 years old. The team is 25 years old, but you gotta be there more than them in order for them to not to feel convinced and not obliged to row in the same direction.
So as you've sort of reimagined the whole cocktail experience at SIPS, and I've seen some other concepts pop up since SIPS has come out with no bar counter, no traditional setup. How did you land on that idea? And when guests come in, do they do they know what you're going for, or is it something that needs to be like stepped through?
Well, it needs to be stepped through sometimes. For example, as you mentioned, we don't have a bar counter. We don't have a physical bar counter that everyone is used to find and recognize. It's an open space where there's a center station where two bartenders work facing each other, and they expedite the drinks. So you can literally walk around the area where the team is making drinks. Now, when imagine the bar is full of people, there's a key outside, and some guests insist to get in, but there's no available space, and they say, "Well, can we just stay at the bar?" And then you need to say, "Well, we don't have a bar." So most of them think that you are taking the piss, and that's fun. But ultimately, by deleting the bar, let's say, we gain much more freedom in service, in attention to detail and execution of things at the table. Ultimately, the bar is also a barrier, that can separate you making drinks from delivering the drinks to the table. So we realize that if you want to be very creative, you don't have to add more, but you need to remove what's around you, and then you develop this sense of being able to have a plan B and a plan C with less. In fact, it's more easy. The simplicity becomes very difficult things today,
How would you classify your cocktails at SIPS when it comes to, there's the minimalist movement coming through, obviously there's the very experiential style of cocktails. Where does your sort of cocktail style sit for people who haven't been?
Do you want me to mention certain drinks, or
let's do it.
Well, we generally start with, first of all, we ask the preferences of the guests if they have any preferences, in terms of spirits, in terms of flavor, any allergies, of course, or things they would like to avoid. If somebody asks for a refreshing, easygoing drink, we can perhaps go through the iconic drinks. I mean, when I say iconic, it seems like the place has been open for 30 years, which is not. But the signature drink, like the Millfuls, which is a layers of very thin layers of ice with lemon leaves, is super elegant. Or the chromatic comes with pearls of different ice, and the crypta. But ultimately, there is we invest a lot in the dialogue between the guest and the person that take care of the table, the waiter or the waitress. And ultimately, you are a street bar. You're not a hotel bar, so you can still add that affordable luxury to the experience.
So when it comes to the business of bars, because I think that sometimes the hard thing is you're a very high concept bar. How do you balance out on a personal level the business of the bar as well as that creative side and like working with the team and the culture?
Well, you mean around the different colleagues?
No, like just the back end business of the bar. Like, are you making money? How do you sort of balance out the business
Yeah.
money side of the bar?
Look, when we decided to open SIPS, we wanted to do a small space. In fact, SIPS takes only 35 people. Now, a bar with 35 people, you will never be able to serve 400 people a day. You generally go around 170, 190 people. More like 170 right now, because we have extended the seating time to do less people, but more experience, more time. So we knew from day one that we would never get rich from it. And also, considering the fact that the details we put on are very intense for a street bar. Consider that we go at least 15 times to each table during the drinking experience. The staff cost is quite high. It goes around to the 30%. The beverage cost is controlled, but ultimately we are still capable to extract a 7, 18, 19 of profit. But again, we knew from day one that SIPS was not built or thought for us to retire soon and make a lot of money, but instead to use as a window to express our idea, to make people happy, and then eventually that would have been a starting point for side project, which is actually so. So ultimately, you need to know why you want to open a bar, and if you want to do it just for money or just as a launching pad for other things.
So Barcelona has become a ridiculously popular city in a very, very short amount of time. How have you seen SIPS shaping the future of the city's bar scene?
Well, I think that SIPS, alongside other bars, which were open pretty much in the same time from foreigners like me, made everyone else realize that Barcelona is a city, first of all, that welcomed small entrepreneurs, is a city enough curious to support your concept. It's international, it's young, it's not a metropolis that people feel stranded and isolated, so or lonely. Like, let's say I lived in London, I can feel there's a huge difference about these human values. So it's a beautiful place to start something. And also for a business point of view, certain operational costs are way more human than big cities. So it's really inviting to make a business here. And then around us, everybody increased the prices after we opened. So because it was kind of maybe an analysis of the market of the neighborhood. So and then we raised the prices as well. So now it's pretty much you can have a similar drinks to a decent price, yes, but not crazy price.
Was that the reason you chose Barcelona? Because you were based in London for a very long time. Yeah, and you're from Italy. But so what drew you to Barcelona in the first place?
Yeah, it's a city that really foments your head to do something new, to be creative. You walk around, you see this building, the architecture, the strength of the gastronomy here. It's huge. It's huge. So it's a city that, despite the fact it's really cool, for me it feels like that there's something that pushes you do things here, you know.
Mm.
And there's a lot of craft, there's lots of artisans. So you speak directly with the makers of the glassware, with the makers of people that can make silicone molds for you to do
Oh,
do
wow.
ice and so on. So yeah, there are no agency, there are people here, you know.
That's very cool. So tell us what made you, what drew you to do taking over Boadas? Because
My love story.
this is a fantastic story,
Okay.
and like what was the driving force? Because again, as you said, like you love SIPS, it was very high concept, love, and then you take over Boadas that's 100 and something years old.
Yeah, so in 2008, I was in Lake Como, that's where I'm from, and there was a bartender doing a throwing technique for a Bloody Mary, something that I've never seen in my life. And he explained me a little bit of that. Kind of forgot about it. Then I went to London. My first teacher, my first mentor, Esther Medina Cuesta, this bar lady, she was my boss, and she had a pin on the jacket. And I said, "What is this pin?" I said, "This is a pin from Boadas." I said, "What is Boadas?" It's a beautiful cocktail bar in Barcelona where they brought from Cuba the throwing technique, and she's the one that actually taught me to do the throwing. So she said, "Well, if you go to Barcelona for holidays, you must go to Boadas." Guess what? I went to Boadas, and I entered the Boadas, and I met. Was it 2010 actually? I met the daughter of the founder, Maria Dolores Boadas, and now she passed away a few years ago. And I had a few drinks from there, and I fell in love. And from that moment, there was a window in my heart that was always open about it. And then I met the owner after her, Geronimo, and 7 years ago, 7 years ago, we started this very romantic negotiation of love and hate. I want to sell it. I don't want to give it to nobody. But he said, the only person I want to give it's you eventually. But I didn't have the money back then. I said, well, thank you. I need to wait. And if you want to wait for me, I'll be glad. And so he did. He waited. And 2 years ago, we acquired the majority of the business.
Wow, that is a love story. He
It is a
waited
love
for you.
story.
That's a love story.
Because when we acquired the business, it was August during the holidays, so it was closed. And I used to go there at night, having the keys at the bar completely closed, and just in the middle, just looking at the wall and think. I didn't even touch nothing. I just was thinking. It was a meditation for me. It was beautiful.
How have you approached like not necessarily modernizing? How have you changed the way that Boadas runs to be a little bit more modern and like take it in and give it this Simone Caporale sort of like touch?
Well, to be honest with you, my first thing was not to put Simone Caporale touch or officially, you know, I just want to be Boadas. First of all, we have to rescue certain values that very often they get lost in these iconic, not all of them, but in certain iconic places. So the respect of the raw material, bring back the real heritage of the classic drinks. Back then, they were made like a disaster. In fact, a very beautiful sentence from one of my mentors, Simon Difford. He said to me, before when I was going to Barcelona, I had to go to Boadas. Now when I go to Barcelona, I want to go to Boadas. And that things for me said it all. So basically we have to reassess the certain raw materials, the quality of the product, the spirits, the standards, the specs, and the working space. And believe it or not, Boadas was opened in 1933. And for the first 89 years, Boadas never had hot water. So one of the first things I wanted is to put hot water for the hygiene purpose of the cleaning of the bar and so on. So literally the only things that had modern was the Wi-Fi, but the rest technically was actually falling apart. It was about to collapse, was getting rough. So we have to go through a huge continuous restoration of everything without closing down the bar, because we couldn't afford to close the bar. We have to still try to generate a little bit of money every day. So but I can tell you that over the last 2 years, every penny has been made has been reinvested.
That's
to every
great.
Single details.
That's fantastic. With you are would you class yourself as an entrepreneur? Because you've got more than just SIPS and Boadas and everything. You got like liqueur brands and everything else. Like, would you class yourself as an entrepreneur?
I think that every bartender is an entrepreneur from the day one, because without you being aware, you are building your career, you are investing in yourself. Eventually, people will start to get to know your name. So you start to become a kind of a brand. Still being an employee, and then eventually you can put a little bit of effort in a side business, in a brand, in a consultancy, and so on, in royalties of things you developed. So yes, I am an entrepreneur, but I think that bartender's always been an entrepreneur, from day one. And very often we always want to validate our work or our effort. We comparing ourselves to other people, what they do. But I think that ultimately you need to be happy with what you've done without necessarily compare, validate your work with other things. This is my honest advice about it, but this is what I think.
For young bartenders looking at your career and looking at all the things, because I've admired you for many years, and everything you and Alex did at Artesian, I followed along with that, because I think 2011 or 2010 for Tails, it was my bar here in Victoria against Artesian, which you guys won, obviously, because I'm in Victoria, BC, which has a city of 186,000 people. For young bartenders looking at your career and dreaming of their own project, what's the one piece of advice they need to hear to get the project that they want to have?
Yeah, be patient. Rome was not built in a day. Now everyone seems like they want everything done in 2 years, and it doesn't work like that. So I've been lucky and unlucky because I have to burn certain stages of the career, and that basically deprive you the chance to learn more harmoniously certain things, and you need to get them quick. And when things are got quick, you don't know if they're right or wrong, so you need to constantly question yourself if it was right or wrong. And so the advice is don't rush. When SIPS got the award of the 50 best bar, I would say, oh well, they're after 2 years. No, it's not. It's after 20 years they've been working, so they don't see that part, so don't rush. Everybody goes fast. Try to age a bourbon of a rum faster. It's going to taste like a disaster. Well, this is exactly what's going to be if you want to rush your career. This will be not as good as it can be.
That's nice. If you could sit down with a drink with Miguel Boadas himself, what would you ask him? And more importantly, what would you serve him?
What we're asking, well, I would serve him a daiquiri with lime, because when he moved down in Spain in 1922, lime didn't exist here. You have the lemon, the yellow one. And until the mid-90s, Boadas always did the daiquiri with lemons because there was no commercialized in Spain limes. So I would definitely make him try how a daiquiri with lime tastes like in Europe after he brought it from Cuba. And what did I ask? What did I tell him? Well, I think I will ask him questions rather than tell him things, because he was an immigrant. He opened a bar just before the Civil War in Spain. He never changed his nationality to Spanish, so he always kept a Cuban passport. Therefore, during the Civil War, he was not obliged to join the army, and he kept the bar open during the Civil War, making cocktails. When the Second World War came, same things. Cuban passport, exempt to join the army, kept the bar open while they were shooting at people in the main square, 100 meters from there. The only time in the history that Boadas was forced to close down was during COVID, but never during two global conflicts.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
That's crazy.
So he really understood how to read people. As soon as he opened the bar, he wrote on Barcelona is very famous to be Catalan, so best not to show the Spanish flag here. He always showed the Cuban flag, which is, is not from Spain, it's not for local, so you are exempt. and he wrote on the wall, English spoken here. So here we speak English. 190 years ago. That was a visionary. I found some magazine from the 1930s where he was advertising cocktail catering service in houses for parties. Yeah. So 1931, even before you opened the bar. I have a few copies. Beautiful.
That's
It was
insane.
a visionary. It was a visionary.
Is there a Boadas book coming down the pipeline then? Is there a Boadas history book coming down the pipeline from you?
Boadas has been self-publishing book until the early 90s. We have original copies. Nowadays, to be honest with you, the book is very romantic, but I would rather go more digital in order for people to... again, it's nice to gift the book, but you never know if people actually read it or not. So now with the Art of Shaking, we've been documenting the how to fix drinks, because there are certain classic cocktails that are very famous. Everybody tried them once, but then stopped doing them because perhaps they couldn't adapt anymore to the current or modern palate. So we developed this course of how to fix some existing recipe that never became that famous, like a daiquiri or like a Manhattan, for certain technical reason. So it's not to say I made my own book, but I rather put my effort in something more tangible and something more immediate in terms of feeling.
As we were talking before, I got you on there in the green room. You're extremely busy. You're in between service. You're about to start service, right?
No, the service has started 2 hours ago.
Okay,
and now we have a new floor manager. She has been working at the 11 Madison Park in New York.
Oh, nice.
And she had been working in London in the Claridge's. And we said, we said to her, we want you to come here and we want to learn things from you that we never knew. And we want to implement things that we don't know, but we still believe they're important to have.
Oh, that's a cool... I've read a lot about 11 Madison Park, their little touches, their little signals, and just their backstories on guests and stuff. It's incredible. So as a busy gentleman, what is your plan for the next 6 to 12 months? What have you got on the books?
Oh, for the next year, well, I will travel basically every week. It can be a couple of days trip, can be 24-hour trip, can be multiple days, to represent SIPS and Boadas, to do certain activity related to the brands that I co-own, spirits brands or Italian aperitifs. And I won't have many days off, but this is what I love to do. So I'm not checking that much the clock and the days. We want to do a couple of events with SIPS International, but very well curated. The format of the guest bartending in general, I think, is a little bit dying. In my opinion, I don't see any evolution. I don't see any improvement. It has been a kind of an instant, immediate commodity to shoot some bullet in the air, but you don't know exactly where they are going. So, funny enough, SIPS over the last 4 years did less than 6 guest shifts in 4 years. Where certain bars, their tactic is do as many guest shifts as you want to promote, but there's no right or wrong. There's only what you think it's right for your line of work. But as I said, we have to do a couple of very cool things with SIPS. Boadas, it's easy to replicate. It's easy to bring it around. It's ultimately it's classic drinks, very well executed. Now you ask, well, what's the deal? There are classic drinks everywhere. Yeah, there are classic drinks. There are classic drinks that give you the goosebumps. If they don't give you goosebumps, it's because there's something missing. Still being a classic drinks. So yeah.
On that,
week I will be around.
On that, like as you said, you're going on 40. Been doing this for 20 plus years. I know I'm actually today is my 28th anniversary in the industry.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. How do you balance out, just what do you do for your mental health? Because outside looking in, everybody always thinks pop-ups and traveling and all that sort of stuff is fun. A lot of the time it's a lot of airplane time with 6 hours in a city and then back to the airport. How do you balance that out mental health wise?
Well, mental health, if you're happy with what you do, you don't suffer. I give priority to certain things and not to other ones. Funny enough, on the 14th of February, I said I want to try how I feel without drinking alcohol, and I taste drinks every day. So I taste, and of course, whatever I taste, I swallow it. Okay, I don't spit it out, but not that I sit down and have a drink. I've been to Singapore 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I have a couple of beers, but then back to regime, and I actually like it. Does it helps? Well, perhaps you wake up more elastic, but ultimately, I'm happy with what I do, and I feel blessed. I feel privileged, and that is part of my personal message, saying, well, don't complain, and would I like to sleep more? Of course, but I also enjoy to be around at work. So um, everyone has his own traumas from the whatever childhood, things like that. It's important to address them and be able to control certain of your pattern of behavior and say, why I'm behaving like this. Then now I know why, so I can prevent it. I can think twice before acting to a certain way or thinking to a certain way. Um, it's an important topic, but it's so personal that there's no specific pattern that you can suggest to everyone. But yes, I think I'm the kind of person that when I get tired of something, when it doesn't excite me anymore, I will say, what, I'm not going to do it anymore. And maybe one day I will say, you know what, I'm done with this. I go to do gardening, for example. I hope it will never happen. But when I lose the romance of what I'm doing, the purpose of things, I just close the chapter. I just close the page.
It's a good
That's
way of
it.
looking at it. I know you're a
Look,
busy guy.
yeah, no. Well, it's good to be busy, and I met people like this. They praise about mental health. They praise about it. Maybe it's part of the business model. And then when they are hidden and nobody sees them, they do things totally against the mental health. It's your choice. I don't praise. I do what I want to do. Let's say my private life, and yeah, just. These are very important things. I wouldn't use them as a topic to praise too much, And I met so many mental health advocates. Beautiful mental health advocates sounds important, and then they're queuing the bathroom to do a line when nobody sees them. So do what you want to do. Try to be successful in what you do, but just follow the line you've chosen, not just one day is red, one day is blue, just because it looks cool.
It's a good call. So we're at the end of the podcast, and I want to do the 5 deep questions.
We are at the end. It's a short podcast.
We're getting up into we're almost at 40 minutes.
You know why? Because the time goes very fast when I chat with you, which means I'm enjoying a lot. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I do these 5 deep questions for everybody at the end of every podcast, and it is what is one lesson of experience that has shaped your perspective the most, and how do you carry that forward in your life?
Always stay close to the people that you want to grow with them, and you think they have a potential to grow more, and then one day be independent, but you have a good professional good memories with them. So it's important to keep them close to you and support them.
If you could leave one lasting message or piece of wisdom for the world, what would it be and why?
Drink water. Yeah, drink more water, and don't be nasty. There's so many evil people out there. Fucking piss me off. Sometimes I get people queuing in the bar and say, just enjoy life. Why are you so miserable with the stuff? Just go and make love, go and spend money, enjoy, drink, but just enjoy life. Don't be nasty for no reason.
Looking back on your journey, what is something that you wish you understood earlier in life?
For sure, take more care of my body in terms of sports or diet, and then we give always priority. Sometimes you prioritize things that in the long term say, well, I wish I could have paid more attention to this or to that or to the private life and so on. So nobody teaches you how to live or how to be yourself,
How do you define success, and has that definition of it changed over time?
For me, the success is when you go to sleep at night and you know that you've done something good on the day, and tomorrow you will start again, perhaps working on that. And throughout the years, of course, it has changed. Maybe success when I was young, I thought they were the money, and now I think is to feel well. Am I successful? Yes, I am. In what matter? In the matter that, first of all, I can choose. I can say yes or no to certain things, and that's it's called also freedom. And for me, that is also be successful. Be free, professionally speaking, to express myself. At my own expense, at my own risks. But that for me is a type of a success.
What do you hope your legacy will be, and what steps are you taking to build it?
Oh, legacy. I don't know. I never thought about it. People forget very quickly about other people, so I don't. I never care about the legacy, to be honest with you. I never. This is something that I never also been obsessed about creating my own cocktails or make it become a classic, things like that. Of course, it's nice, but certain things, I think those things happen because they were not planned. They just happen. So legacy, I like the present. I like what's happening now, and in fact, that's why we changed so many things. We did so many different things throughout our experience. And yeah, that my is for me is an instant legacy. Be happy now.
That's nice. So I have a couple more questions now. Usually I tie it off, but I got a couple more questions. What has been your favorite city to go travel to that you've been surprised by?
Oh, Lima in Peru, Rio de Janeiro. I love Sydney. I recently went to I recently went to Africa for the first time, and I love Barcelona. London gave me everything, professionally speaking, and Moscow used to have a beautiful, beautiful bar concept a long while ago, way before these latest political things. I'm talking about 10 years ago. They used to have beautiful concepts. Now most of them they've disappeared. But I see so many cool things around that unless you travel, you will never experience them.
Is there a city you are excited to go to but you haven't gone to yet?
I want to experience more Africa. But guess what? Now, with a friends of mine, which I'm not gonna tell who it is. It's a colleague, obviously, because it's not been released officially yet. But I'm opening a new cocktail bar in Hong Kong, so I will be there more often.
That's incredible. Have you done a lot of places in Canada?
No, I've been to Canada a couple of times, but just for a quick trip for work.
Just for work. Well, good. When's the bar in Hong Kong open?
If all goes well, by the end of May of mid-June, let's say June.
That's close.
Yeah. We already paid the rent, so it's better be close because we're already spending money on it.
Wow, that's incredible, man. Thank you so much for your time. I know that you're in the middle of service, and I appreciate you carving out some time and sitting down with me. I'm looking forward to traveling and visiting your bars very, very soon to Barcelona later this year.
Well, we bartenders are always in the middle of the service, so
This is very true. Yeah, this is very true. I fly back to Vancouver tomorrow to work. So, but thank you so much for your time, man. I really, really appreciate you.
You're most welcome. Thank you for contacting me for this.
Thank you, sir. Chat to you soon.
Ciao.
Ciao.